Hey everyone, D&D Detective here. So today I'm going to be talking about the Mythic Odysseys of Theros, the newest campaign setting for 5th edition. It's based on the Theros setting of Magic the Gathering. I'll be looking at what it's going to offer you, what strengths and weaknesses the product has, and where it stacks up to other similar products that have been released for 5th edition. So here's a breakdown of the book. Chapter 1 gives a few player options available in the book. This includes 2 new races, 2 subclasses, and supernatural gifts. Chapter 2 focuses on describing the gods, their worshippers, and their relationship with humans. This includes a piety system that you can use to reward players acting favorably to the gods. Chapter 3 gives an overview of the places in Theros, giving you an idea of how they are governed and how they operate. Chapter 4 then gives you some ideas on how to run adventures that involve working for or against a certain god. This also includes 15 maps that are connected to each of the gods. The chapter also contains a short level 1 to 2 adventure that you can run called No Silent Secret. Chapter 5 gives you 8 new magic items and an additional 5 magic item artifacts. And finally, Chapter 6 contains approximately 50 new monster stat blocks. Alright, so with that out of the way, I want to make it clear that this book is very much for DMs and not for players. If you are a player, it's not worth it to buy this book. So what do I like about it? Honestly, I think it's the best campaign setting book in 5th edition. One of the hardest parts of writing a setting is to balance the need for content against the need for it to be approachable for people new to the setting. It's a tough feat to do because you never want people to feel as though they aren't getting value for money, but at the same time, you don't want people feeling like the book is too overwhelming to use. What's great is that the amount of information you get in this book doesn't feel overwhelming. It's well formatted and digestible, and the book is very effective at presenting this information, not just in text and images, but also in useful tables. While use of tables is nothing new, what sets the book apart from some of the more recent campaign setting books, like The Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and Eberron, Rising of the Last War, is that the volume of the material you get here is something you can easily pick up and read through. Coming in at around 210 pages of non-monster content, this book has about 70 pages less of non-monster content than The Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and Eberron, Rising of the Last War. The consequence of this is that you're going to need to build out this world on your own terms, but the book provides a lot for you to work with for you to do just that. In other words, if you are looking for your campaign setting to give you a breakdown of every town or even population figures, you aren't going to get that here. Instead, you'll get 2 to 3 pages describing each of the major city-states in the book, as well as their surroundings. It's enough to work off of, though people looking for a more traditional D&D approach to describing settlements will be left wanting more. At the same time, the book is much better formatted than the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and much more care has been made at making the material in it usable and relevant. Where Theros succeeds over, say, a book like the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is how approachable it is. In large part, that is because compared to Ravnica, it's a very traditional setting. Ravnica, while a great setting in its own right, can be a lot for anyone new to the setting. So what is this going to be useful for? The book is going to be helpful for any campaign involving the involvement of gods in the lives of the party. The piety system here provides a very approachable alternative to the system introduced in the Dungeon Master's Guide. It's nothing extensive, but it's enough for you to adjust as you see fit. This book is especially useful if you're a DM looking to run either a nautical-themed campaign or a campaign loosely set on Greek mythology. You're going to get tables that you can use to figure out what are some of the encounters you will face at sea, what you'd face on an island, and even magical properties and other oddities you will see on the mysterious islands of this setting. From what I can tell, the book doesn't repeat anything you could find in the Ghost of Salt Marsh adventure, so owners of that book will also get something out of this. For myself, I've been working on a campaign set in the King's Quest VI universe, which for all you young'uns out there takes place in these mysterious, fairy tale inspired islands, and I've already gotten quite a few great ideas from this book. King's Quest VI and the Theros setting seem to have a similar theme of being a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead are closer than we might be comfortable with. With around 50 new monsters, and 3 monsters so powerful that when you kill them, they heal and gain even more power. This book is going to give you a ton of epic encounters to run. It also provides options for how to make other creatures from other books mechanically fit into this one. So what sets this book apart? This book also avoids one of the mistakes I occasionally see in settings. Whether a paper book or a video game, some creators make cumbersome changes in order to make their setting more unique. A common one is deciding to rework currency and invent a new system of different values and coins for it. Ravnica even does this to a degree by giving different factions different currency values. But anyone familiar with some of the older Dungeons & Dragons products, particularly back in the days of 2nd edition, will have seen this a lot. Theros avoids these pitfalls and keeps the amount of detail you need to an appropriate level. It effectively balances the need for the kind of lore you're going to want in a setting book as a DM with other tools that will help you create an adventure. For instance, on top of getting descriptions about the different city-states of Theros, as well as the more supernatural places like the Underworld and Nyx, the Land of the Gods, you also get in this book a ton of different encounter tables, maps, and artwork that you can use to create your own campaigns. So how does the artwork look? Speaking of the book's monsters, they wouldn't shine as well if it weren't for the great artwork in this book. The artwork in the book, much of which is taken from Magic the Gathering, is well placed and really brings the setting to life. Magic the Gathering has a long history of great artwork, especially when it comes to showcasing the scale of its monsters next to ordinary people, and the monsters here are no exception. Now to talk about this adventure. One of the great things this book does is also provide you as a DM with a level 1 to 2 adventure you can run. The adventure is not extensive, but it's a good start to understanding the setting. But if you run it, keep in mind that its first encounter throws 2 CR1 creatures against the party. While it does give you the option to call 3 guards if they are needed, these CR1 creatures have pack tactics, which means that if both of them are adjacent to someone in the party, they will get advantage on their attack against them. They attack at a +5, and when they hit, they deal an average of 13 damage, which is about half poison and half piercing damage. In other words, a single hit from them will down just about anyone in the party except for a barbarian. They also each have 22 hit points, so odds are they're going to be up for a turn at least. They are also resistant to necrotic damage and immune to poison damage. On top of that, with them having 15 AC, the party likely only has around a 50% chance of even hitting them. Before you freak out though, don't forget that everyone running this adventure is going to have access to a supernatural gift. It wouldn't be a bad idea for someone in the party to take Heroic Destiny. This gives them advantage on death saves, and will let the character go to 1 HP instead of down to 0, but only once per long rest. You can find out more about supernatural gifts in Chapter 1. What more would I have liked to have seen out of this? Well, for one thing, more player options, balanced races, and a better paladin subclass. The book has a lack of player options. You only get 2 subclasses and 2 new races in the book. The options that are there also needed more of a balance pass, particularly the Satyr. They get a magic resistance ability, the same one that the Yuan-Ti get, that grants them advantage against 192 official spells. This is triple what even the gnome gets with its ability, and while one could make the argument that it's only a minority of monsters in the game that can spellcast, the fact is that this is an advantage that doesn't really compare to what any other race is provided, particularly when you consider all the other abilities it's also granted. At the same time, the Paladin here has a really lackluster level 7 aura ability. Speed is only really so helpful in combat, and an ally needing to be within 5 feet of you to benefit from this aura is not very ideal. Here is a comparison for how the New Oath of Glorious ability stacks up against the other Paladin abilities at this level. The book also lacks any new spells. I would have loved to have seen more theme-specific spells here. The second thing this book really needed was better balanced piety bonuses. Karametra and Perforos have a similar bonus at low levels, but Perforos lasts longer and you can do them more often. The only upside Karametra gets is that hers don't require concentration, but it's a pretty minor upside all things considered. Another thing the book could have used is city maps and encounters. One thing you won't see at all in this book is any city maps. Some of you might be okay with that. You can certainly make your own, but being a bit of a city nerd, I always love to see how fantasy settings portray cities through maps. I'm left a bit disappointed by their absence. A well-done map can really make a city come to life. The book, however, does provide some interesting people and places to visit, so it's a good start but I would have liked to have seen appropriately themed encounters included as well. Maybe even some local mysteries that you could use as a starting point for quests. A better world map. The world map in this book has no roads, no fortresses, and not even a scale, so you don't even know any distances for determining travel times. It's also very plain looking as well. More weapon options and weapon abilities. I would have liked to have seen more focus on making combat in the game feel unique, and as though it were set in an ancient Greek setting. A lot of the weapons in the 5th edition player's handbook didn't exist in ancient Greece. As an example, crossbows didn't exist in Greece back then. Instead, they had gastrophetes, which were sort of similar, but also much more cumbersome, and required you to place your weight down on them, instead of drawing back the bow. I would have loved to have seen alternative weapon options in the game, instead of the usual ones in the player's handbook. Nothing that a DM would be expected to use, but the kind of thing that would let a DM make this world feel more like ancient Greece if they wanted it to. This could have been an opportunity to make combat more interesting and unique, specifically in this setting, provided it was done in a straightforward way. Another thing I would have liked to have seen is weapon abilities. By this I mean something along the same lines as what Kobold Press did in their Midgard Heroes Handbook, just to give combat a different feel in a setting that's clearly intended to be mythic, and also make weapon options more unique. My final thoughts. But honestly, the issues I have with the book are minor. This is a really good DM resource, and if you're serious about running a campaign involving seafaring, a Greek-themed adventure, the underworld, or even a campaign involving the gods being heavily involved in the lives of people, I think you'll get something out of this. It's not a product, however, without its faults. I would have liked to have seen more player options here. The supernatural gifts are a good start, as are the piety bonuses, but I would have liked to have seen more subclasses, more weapon options, and spells that would have made combat feel truly unique in this setting. In the end, though, I'm still giving this product a 9 out of 10. Alright, that's it for the video. If you like what you saw here, be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts about this product, or have ideas about what kinds of videos you'd like to see here on the channel, be sure to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.